All of this is going on at once as Bob Kolasky does join now. Bob, Senior Vice President for Critical Infrastructure at Exiger. He's a former Assistant Director of the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency at DHS. So I just went through this whole, backstory, Bob, a few minutes ago on cyber history with Iran. What about our actual capabilities here? What you can tell us, what you know about them? If that's one of the options at the president's disposal, how effective might it be?
Sure. So thanks, Connell, for having me on. And I just heard you talk about Stuxnet, and I think it's fair to say that we are past the Stuxnet days now in our cyber capabilities as part of our integrated war planning. So for the U.S., President Trump did something in his first administration, 2018, where he changed the policy to empower the Secretary of Defense to put offensive cyber capabilities into his war planning capabilities. So the Defense Department, as it's building out its war plans, is considering cyber as an instrument of war, and the Secretary and his commanding generals and forces, if there's an act of attack, whether we call it an act of war or not, cyber will be part of the package that's considered by the warfighters, right? By the people, by the operators.
Right. So it's all one, right? In many ways. So, like when I say that we just heard a carrier strike group being moved towards the region, and when we have other preparations that are underway, cyber, it's not an either or, is what it's a both and, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's not a cyber war. It's whatever we decide to do with the president and the secretary and the commanding generals ultimately decide to do. Cyber will certainly be on the table as the way that we would exert our power as a country. And in doing so, I would expect that cyber capabilities we would explore using would be targeted toward high-value targets, political leadership, the military power of Iran, their command and control infrastructure. What's interesting right now, of course, the Iranian government's taken down their own internet, right?
Right.
So some of the things that you might think of as a cyber attack to go after the capability of the internet, but the public internet, and as it exists in Iran, it's already down. Some of the communications networks are already down.
That's interesting. Right.
So
Cuts
we will
off
be
an
looking
option.
at, we'll be looking at specific targets in ways that we can, pretty much beat down logistics and the offensive weapon capabilities of Iran and the command and control of the leaders, so that they're disempowered in any potential conflict.
But how might the challenges differ if you're going after a country like Iran? Again, you're across the board, like you said, maybe, potentially. We don't know if the president's going to choose any of these options, but say he does, versus what we did in Venezuela, where there's be some cyber activities as well. I mean, it seems to me, just as a layperson, just from what we hear, isn't it more challenging in Iran with their capabilities to fight back, or no?
So I'll be careful about what we did, because we're still learning what we did in Venezuela and what we did and did not do. But I think that's some of the point, right? The creating the perception that we have powerful cyber weapons, both for Venezuela and Iran, certainly help us achieve the aims that we're trying to achieve militarily. And so that's one thing that we're trying to create the uncertainty of what our capabilities are. I think there's probably been more war planning, or I know there's been more war planning in our Iranian scenario. We've been in a low-grade cyber conflict with Iran for a decade now, maybe longer if you want to go back to.
So we played through these scenarios with Iran.
So we've thought through targeting.
That makes sense.
In a way, and I think that will give us advantages if we ultimately decide to use it.
Got to run now, Bob. But there's so much going on at once. We really appreciate your expertise on this. After a quick break, we're coming right back on NewsNation. Yep.